Thank you, Madam Speaker and Senators. I'm also rising to address the speech from the throne and following on from my colleagues, Senator Almenbar and Senator Ravalia. And we are focusing on the physician shortage issue, not every single problem in our healthcare system, though those need to be addressed as well. My remarks will focus on an opportunity that builds on what already exists. This is already in place, to create a national program that would rapidly and cost-effectively ensure a pathway to medical licensure for internationally trained physicians. Now, these are physicians who have graduated from medical school, done their postgraduate training, have practiced, some for many years, in a different country, have come to Canada, are Canadian citizens or permanent residents. So that's the group. This kind of program, with an extremely modest investment, could provide a route through which thousands of physicians who are in critical short supply could enter practice every single year. That's right, colleagues, thousands every single year. Imagine what that would mean for all those who do not have a family physician, or those who are waiting for months or even years to see a specialist in those areas in which specialists are in short supply. This route to licensure is through the practice-ready assessment that Senator Osler mentioned. It allows internationally trained physicians to demonstrate their clinical readiness in a supervised setting, often in the community in which they will actually work when they finish. Let me be very clear. This route to practice already exists in some provinces, but it's not nationally organized, and there has been little or no coordinated attempt to build on this to create a national program that can ensure that the PRA, Practice Ready Assessment, can be effectively used to address the physician numbers crisis that we have been facing for at least a decade. Colleagues, for decades, there has existed a cost-effective solution for assessing the clinical competencies of experienced physicians, the PRA. But during the last decade, only about 1,000 qualified physicians have been able to navigate a PRA. Only about 1,000 over 10 years. However, according to Dr. Gus Grant, the Registrar of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Nova Scotia, there currently exist about, are you ready for this? 13,000 qualified physicians waiting for a chance to get into a PRA. Now, you can do the math. We currently stand at 6,000 to 7,000 primary physicians short in Canada, yet we've been sitting on a solution that could have mitigated this crisis for many years ago. Had a national PRA program been in place, it's highly possible that we would not be in this situation now. Let me be very clear about the PRA route to licensure. It's tailored specifically for those experienced mid-career physicians who have already been practicing medicine in another country. It is not, as Senator Ravalia has pointed out, for recent medical school graduates who have not previously practiced medicine. So these are physicians who are already experienced. In addition, these ITPs, internationally trained physicians, have passed all of their Canadian examinations to make sure they meet the same standard as a Canadian physician must meet. Many of these ITPs may be members of linguistic or cultural communities in Canada, communities who are struggling to find physicians who know their language and their culture. These physicians have often immigrated to Canada with the understanding they would be able to use their medical skills when they got here, but guess what? They can't. So while their communities are underserviced, they cannot access the simple program that would meet the needs of the community in which they may reside. Colleagues, this is blatantly unfair to everyone. These are the doctors who are driving taxi cabs, while over 6 million Canadians don't have a family physician. And colleagues, they've been here all along. So what's a PRA? What goes into a PRA? It's a route to licensure that ensures that experienced ITPs who've trained and practiced outside of Canada have the necessary competencies for safe and effective medical practice in Canada. It's an in-depth evaluation of the ITP's competencies conducted under direct supervision by a trained physician assessor in a clinical setting, usually over a period of 3 months. But prior to entering the PRA, the applicant must have their medical school and residency training credentials assessed, pass a suite of Canadian exams, demonstrate language proficiency, and meet other exhaustive requirements. At the time of their entry into the PRA, the physician has already demonstrated that they meet the necessary standards for Canadian medical practice. It's the PRA that is the icing on the cake. So it's a 3-month intensive evaluation of their clinical work under the supervision of an experienced physician. Upon completion of this assessment, they meet the same standards for licensure that any Canadian medical graduate must meet for licensure. Since the assessment period is only 3 months long, ramping up capacity in PRA availability will rapidly help us address the huge shortfall of available physicians. As well, graduates from PRA often sign return of service agreements that directs their practice to parts of Canada where the need is greatest, particularly rural practice. Simply put, colleagues, the PRA is one of the most cost-effective ways to quickly increase the pool of highly trained physicians who can meet the care needs of Canada, and they can meet it now. There actually is, colleagues, a framework for a national PRA assessment network. It's been recently created by the Medical Council of Canada. And indeed, with the proper funding, the Medical Council of Canada could become a home for the national PRA program. Currently, somebody who wants to access a PRA has to go to province to province to province to province, bouncing like a ping pong ball across the table. And even if they have clearly met all the qualifications, they can't get in because there are no slots. My home province of Nova Scotia is finally instituting a robust, centralized, and coordinated PRA program under the leadership of the College of Physicians and Surgeons and in collaboration with the Medical Council of Canada. It's nationally the first of its kind. Previous iterations of the program were run off the side of the desk by highly committed physicians at Dalhousie University, but they were not provided with the funding or other supports needed to scale up the program. So this is a necessary first step, but it's a drop in the bucket. Simply by investing in the creation of a national PRA program and providing funding for these slots, the federal government could turn this drop into a bucket into a river of opportunity. Colleagues, what about the cost of this? Right now, the cost of putting one experienced physician through a PRA program assessment, are you ready for it? About $35,000. That's it, $35,000 per doc. If a national program created 500 PRA slots across Canada, it could probably graduate about 1,500 physicians a year at $35,000 per physician. You do the math, and you tell me if that's not a good ROI. Furthermore, a national PRA program could be periodically reviewed and tweaked to better reflect physician human resource needs. Its outputs could actually be managed. Wow, that will be unique. It could even be used to help inform the criteria for potential physician immigrants to Canada. Colleagues, establishing a national PR program and funding the sites can be done by the federal government directly. Provinces and territories would continue to set licensing standards, and the appropriate administrative structures would oversee the PRA sites. This requires federal leadership and direct federal investment. There's no question that this could be done. Colleagues, it must be done. Thank you.